Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Fourtress Finest, a podcast, a spin-off podcast of our typical Fortress of podcast, where we get together, a few of us, to talk about a series or something. We've done The Rings of Power in the past, me and Devin, and now we are on to HBO's The Last of Us, the adaptation of the very beloved video game. Episode 5, Endure and Survive.
Ugh.
Since spoilers starting from here, listeners, there's no spoiler-free section. An appropriate title, considering not many survived this episode. We'll get into it.
Oh my god.
Also, before we continue, listeners, just wanted to let everyone know that have a brief trigger warning here that we will be talking about this episode, and there is a suicide in this episode as well. So just wanted everyone to be aware of that. Yeah. I will honestly start off by saying I fucking loved this episode. Holy shit. This was nuts. Like, by the end, I was like, they did it. Fucking did it. Holy shit. I don't know. How would you guys feel? Devin, what was your initial reaction immediately after when the credits rolled?
I texted you all about, well, first of all, I think I should say that, we got about 15 minutes in and my girlfriend was like, you know what? I'm just going to tap out on this one. I just think it's going to be too much of a bummer.
Oh, you mean like when everyone was being murdered and executed?
Yeah,
and
it's just like, I think you just go watch this one and just fill me in on what happens. And then I texted you all. I was like, oh, like Joel's like storming the sniper right now. It's going to be really cool. Like, oh, can't wait for this action sequence. And then about 15, 20 minutes later, it's like, why do we put ourselves through this shit? Like, why do I do this to myself every week? Like, and at this point, we know what we're signing up for.
You better at this point.
At this point, basically the plot of every episode and any episodes that they combine. It's just sad. They should have called the show Sad Hour. Not Sad Hour, It's just Sad Hour.
I told you that after, I think, with the first episode, you're just in for a roller coaster of emotions every episode.
Is it a roller coaster? Is it?
It's only downhill.
Or is it just
down?
It's one really long downhill.
It's a roller coaster that just goes straight to the center of the earth. and it stays there. Because, like, fucking, there's no up ever. Oh, man, I'm sad. I'm very sad.
Yeah. Brian? I know me and you talked about it yesterday in our future spoiler section about this very episode and these moments. Did it live up to the hype for you?
Yes and no. We'll get a little bit into it. I do want to preface everything that I say about this show as far as criticism goes. It's not because I don't like the show. I feel like I need to make that. I feel like I'm like shitting on the show.
No, Brian, everyone knows you hate this show with all of your being.
No, I actually really love this show, and that's why I'm critical of it, because I do think that criticisms of even the best things are still, worthy of criticism. That being said, there was a few things about this episode that didn't hit with me, and one of them is gonna be the Kansas City group.
I had a feeling you were gonna. Yeah, I had a feeling it would have worked for you.
It landed about as I expected it to land, which wasn't a bad thing, but also wasn't the best thing I've seen in television history. That being said, once they got to the shit kicked off. Once the shit kicked off, the shit kicked off, and I was very impressed by some of the things they did. I like some of the way that they changed the way some enemies exist, because there's only a few enemy types in the video game. They kind of made it very different.
Yes.
I just really, I love some of the adaptation things that they've done with this story. I think
we finally got someone saying the word clicker.
Yeah.
It took till episode 5 for someone to say clicker, though. That's nuts.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Like we were saying, a happy-go-lucky intro to this episode of flashback to when Kathleen's group of, we'll just call them hunters, because that's what they're kind of called in the game, finally overthrow Fedra. And what do? They are this is like medieval time, old school, just executing people in the street.
They're lynching motherfuckers and shit. What is going on?
This was nuts. Like, the one that also got me, it's a little later in the episode, was when they're just dragging a dude who has like a million knives in him through the street behind a truck on a rope. Like, I was like, what does that? That's... Oh my god!
Like, why does this feel just as much like martial rule as we already had? Like, yeah, I know these guys sucked. I get it. I understand. Why do you guys seem just as bad?
I mean, that's a big, like a huge lesson about this. It's don't like Kathleen didn't learn from her brother later, as we heard later, of forgiveness and empathy. She just ended up doing the exact fucking same thing. I thought this by the end of the episode. imagine being Henry having an entire army trying to kill you.
Just you.
Like, you gotta be a really important motherfucker to have that.
Yeah.
Like, that was nuts.
Yeah, they really put a lot of resources into that. But
yeah.
Right. I feel like at some point you just got to give it up. Like, yeah, I understand the brother was like the leader and really great and everyone loved him. That's really cool. There's just one guy. We got more pressing matters. I don't think he's gonna kill nobody else. He's just a guy.
Right. But I will say though, as much as it didn't quite work for you, Brian, and I understand 100% why, because it is like, it was exactly what we talked about last week, where it's like, I was like, they're gonna get infected, or like they're gonna get done in by the infected. That's how it's gonna go. Every single one of them is gonna be gone by the end of next week, and it was exactly that. And so I could see the issue there, but I will say, this episode did a damn good job of showing that Kathleen, I know her name's not Karen, but she is a super Karen, bro. She don't give a fuck about nothing.
And I guess that's what, it's not so much about them dying, because this is a show about, as we've seen at this point, it seems like a show about people meeting people, and then those people die. And then you move on with your life, and you meet some new people, and then they end up dying. It seems like it's kind of a rinse and repeat kind of thing. So I kind of expected that. I knew they weren't going to be incredibly important characters.
Right.
But this felt like a page directly out of Walking Dead to me. Like, I swear I've seen almost some of this stuff shot for shot when it came to Kathleen just being the biggest dick you've ever seen in your life. I wish I remembered literally anything about Walking Dead. I'm sure I could name a character that was exactly like it. But it's just one of those things where it's like, if they took anything from Walking Dead, it was these characters in this scenario to add on to Henry's story here, which is fine.
But for me, I think it was, I'd say one difference from Walking Dead is that you can understand what both sides are coming from, right? So I think in Walking Dead, there's definitely some like evil motherfuckers that are like manipulating people, and they're just evil people, right? But like in this, like, you can totally understand Kathleen's point of view. She's not wrong. And
none of these people were power hungry.
Yeah, neither.
That's usually the difference.
Right. Henry wasn't wrong either. I mean, he wanted to save his brothers. I mean, I think that's, I like that they're humanizing everybody. And so you're like, you know, so you feel better about, well, I don't know. I guess it's not a relief really, but you just like, you can understand where all sides are coming from. So I like that.
And that's kind of the story they're trying to tell, is that kind of gray area between what will you do for love, what will you do for the people that you care about. And they keep they're punching into you at this point. The amount of times they talk about how Joel was on the other side of this shit and doing bad things, and now Henry was like, "Am I the bad guy because I did this?" And it's like, of course, people are gonna be like, "No, you know, your brother had cancer, of course not." So they're playing with that very hard, very heavy handedly. So if you don't get that by the end of the show, I don't know what the fuck you got out of it. But I guess it's just one of those things where it's like, adding that extra avenue, it almost feels like it could be too much to me compared to what we see from the game, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about at least, where it's like, we already know that people do bad shit for love. We've already seen it. We didn't need to make it so every single person you meet is like, I did this for love. Like, they might as well just say it. It might as well be a Fast and Furious where they're like, I did this for family. Okay, we got you, bro. Understandable.
Yeah. But speaking of that, I did like the added element though of like, even Perry was like, wants to be like, what the hell are we doing? Like, why are we like, there's a giant sinkhole full of infected that's about to blow up. Like, I think that's top priority. No offense.
Yeah, so they knew that's because at first I thought that in the first episode, they knew exactly what that was.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's why I think Perry's like, are you serious, Kathleen? Like, I get it. He killed your brother, but like, this is some bad shit.
And first of all, well, I mean, they're fucked either way. I mean, the only thing you can do in that case is just drive as far as you can get from Kansas City, I think. But I mean, also, how the fuck did Fedra get them underground to just like that little nugget around and make sinkhole? How the hell did they manage that? Because honestly, I think they should have kept somebody alive to explain that.
Well, I would imagine the fact that the amount of infected that are down there, those are probably some of the people that tried to do it. Like not everyone survived this plan to get all the infected in the underground.
Yeah, very true. That was an interesting thing. They were just like, we're just gonna keep that hole and not think about it. We'll get to that someday. Just procrastination.
Just lock the door and don't tell everyone not to go in there.
That won't be a bad idea at some point, huh?
I mean, hey, they broke the number one rule of like Mad Max car. Like safety, you have to, if you're gonna have a big car with a plow in the front, you have to have like a metal. It has to be a tank. You can't just leave the windshield, the existing windshield, for the driver. You got to put like a metal, slit on there so that like they're completely protected from snipers. I mean, that was just
damn
amateur.
Good shot by Joel though.
Right.
So
yeah, pretty good shot by him.
He's just like me playing on grounded mode.
Let's talk about Henry and Sam. obviously, yeah, we were correct, and like in the trailer showed that Sam is deaf. I will shout out that kid who plays Sam is actually deaf in real life. His name is Kevon Woodard. Lamar Johnson played Henry. Both of them were amazing. I thought this
Mm-hmm.
relationship was. I wrote in my notes about 4 separate times. This is gonna break my heart. This is gonna be the worst thing. This is gonna be awful.
Their on-screen chemistry
Knew it
was very good. I was very impressed and very surprised about that. I'm also surprised with the fact that they did choose not only to make the character deaf, but then also pick a deaf actor. At first, I thought
Mm-hmm.
it was gonna feel a little gross for me for it to be a deaf character, where like we're just throwing in disability for the sake of it. I always get nervous about wokenomics,
Right.
which is the term that I coined when people do things solely to get people talking
Right.
to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you give roles and jobs to people that actually, um, are part of that community, I think that's a
Mhm.
great thing, and we need more of that in that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool to see that they actually did it the correct way instead of just getting a boy and telling him not to speak.
Yeah.
Right, right. Oh,
I think
yeah.
I think in the after thing they said that like the coach was like the director of ASL, like the
Yeah, I
guy.
saw that too.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like they got they just went straight to the
Pretty
top. Like,
dope.
who can we get in for this?
They got money.
Yes, hello.
Okay.
The head
Yeah.
honcho of ASL of the
Yeah.
entire world. Can you come and like consult in our show?
Yeah, I thought they were tremendous. And also, a bit of a difference of the game. They don't explicitly say how old Sam is in the game, but I'm pretty sure he's definitely not 8.
Yeah, I figured it seemed like he was
Woo.
about maybe 10 or 11 in the game, where he was
Yeah.
like younger than Ellie, but they were still close enough in age for it to feel not weird.
Right. Whereas this, it felt very much big sister, little brother. Like
Mhm.
she's a
Mhm.
lot older than he
Right.
is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what made it even worse for me when they first start showing the two of them. I was like, are they really gonna do it? This kid's 8 years old, bro. What the fuck? I couldn't believe it.
I would be real. I really still thought that it was going to be Kathleen gat blasting him. Uh, I'm happy it wasn't.
Yeah.
Because holy shit, that would have been awful. But
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she would have done it. She would have done it. I believe it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we learn, we get a bit of flashback with them meeting the Dr. Edelstein who helped them hide in the attic for 10 days. And then they eventually ran out of food, had to dip out. But I got one question for Henry, in the fact that I really hope he made sure that that paint was safe to put on his little brother's
put it directly on his
eyes.
eyes.
Lead
On
poisoning.
his eyes?
Man already has leukemia. You just gave him another kind of cancer. Jesus Christ.
Like, what the hell, dude? Like, I appreciate it, and it worked and helped him keep his morale up. But I was like, there's probably lead in that paint. Like, let's like.
My
Yeah.
eyes, they burn. I can't see.
He just goes blind. It's like, yeah, fuck you. Taking away the
Yeah.
one sense you have left.
Oh God. But yeah, I love their bond. We learned that the reason that Henry is wanted by the entire fucking city of Kansas City was that after this whole overthrow of Fedra, Kathleen, who's heart like cold as shit, kills all of the collaborators at Cell. She just says, "Fuck them, burn them all, kill them all, burn the bodies so there's less cleanup." It's like, oh shit, dude. Like, this is a dark opening.
Mm-hmm. But to be fair, when you're in that situation, in every single movie, whenever you tell them what they want to know, they kill you anyway. So you might as well just die with some dignity and tell them
I
nothing.
mean, she literally says, "Well, we're gonna have you on trial. You're all guilty, so we know how that's gonna go." So it's like, I'm fucked anyways. Like,
Yeah.
what?
She said you'll do sometime, and then that's that.
Oh,
But yeah, it's one of those things, and I just think maybe we've just had too many shows that played with gray area now. And there's a couple of things like this where I'm just like, damn it, I kind of wish that this was more character focused and less getting to certain points focused. Because like her motive, we're in the apocalypse. It's been 20 years plus in the apocalypse at this point. Everyone's lost people. So to hold this hard of a vendetta and this much rage over one person dying feels weird in this space to me personally. Because I'm just like, how do you hold that much over one person when like most people have probably died? You're probably part of like the smaller percentage of the population at this point.
right.
Especially when her logic is like, oh, it's just fate that your brother's going to die. So like, okay, well, it was fate where your brother's going to die.
That line was crazy. When she's like, "Didn't you think that maybe he was meant to die?" I was like, "Girl, he's 8. Holy shit!"
I love that.
Holy
That was probably my favorite line that she delivered to me because it was so unhinged and so inhumane to think that way.
It was great. It was
Yeah.
great.
Did you ever think you were robbing the Grim Reaper of his chance to take one more? Huh?
Yeah.
Did you ever think about that, Henry?
Her voice adding to it, be that little soft little baby mouse voice, it just makes it that much funnier of her being like the worst person you've ever met in your life.
Yeah. She was definitely a big talk to the manager girl before the pandemic.
Yeah. The reason Kathleen worked a little more for me is in the sense that they talk about in two separate conversations from two separate characters, both Henry and Joel later, and then Kathleen and Perry, where they talk about clearly her brother Michael, who was the original leader of this resistance group, which is why it makes sense why Kathleen ends up in charge. So there's that little checkbox. But two, apparently he was the nicest dude in the fucking world.
It was a
like
fucking
Henry
saint.
feels so bad for betraying him. And so I think maybe what would have helped add to that would be a scene.
Yes.
In that flashback, seeing Michael be the greatest man in the world to Henry type of thing.
I think I agree with
I don't
that,
know.
100%.
But like, I think that might have helped.
Yeah. I felt, for a man that I've never met before, it's hard to feel any,
right,
empathy for him. Like, oh, well, that fucking sucks. I heard he's really great. Yeah. Fucking George Washington's probably really great too. He's dead. Who cares? So,
yeah.
So yeah, I just thought of that. Back to Henry and Sam. They see Joel and Ellie crash, and that's where they're like, "This dude's a murderer. Let's get him on our side."
He's a murderer. And he's not one of those murderers. So yeah, he's
right.
a good.
He's one of the good murderers who's trying to escape the other murderers that
this
are after us.
This guy kills people pretty dang good.
I like how we were right about last week. How it's like, yeah, they just straight up walked on the glass, and Joel just couldn't hear them.
I love that. I love
noisy.
That. Did not sneak around at all.
Noisy.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this introduction of them meeting them because Henry doesn't know what the fuck to do.
He's so nervous.
Yeah,
so
that's
scary.
true. It's cool.
Yeah,
because he's really just some guy. Like
it's like, well, I don't know what step 2 is here, but
right. And he's like, I'm gonna put my gun away, and then like Joel says something. He's like, that's a really weird fucking tone. And I was like, he has an asshole voice. That's fine. It's normal. Yeah, and so then they put a plan together about going down into the sewers underneath Kansas City to escape, which we'll probably talk about more differences in later in the episode when Devin's gone. But for this one, the difference is that they escape the city and then they end up in the sewers later. So it's in basically the sewers of the suburbs of the city, which they get to later. But I think the coolest thing about this is they kept the fucking ish stuff in the sewers. That was amazing. When you see that fucking gateway of the painted like castle entrance, I was like, I can't believe they did it. That's awesome.
It was, and I'm surprised they didn't put any flashbacks or anything like that in regards to that. I mean, I guess that would have been kind of taken away from the story. But definitely, that's one of those things that in the game they talk about a little bit at the ending credit stuff. About how like it's one of those optional things that you read notes and stuff. And basically reading these notes while going through these sewers, you find a whole crazy story about basically what happened in this area.
It's amazing.
Underground. And it's such a fleshed out and good story that's like, I would love to kind of see that on screen because it's fucked. It gives me Fallout vibes. It reminds me of like some of the stuff that you'd find in Fallout back in the day.
I will say that they did say in the podcast that they had thought of doing a standalone-ish episode
really?
At one point. Just a whole standalone.
That'd be so funny because it has no draw to any other characters anywhere.
No.
And you'd be like, what the fuck is this? Like,
I can see why they did it because it's like this is worse than the Bills. Like this has no connection. What? But man, that would have been amazing. But it does give, I guess, people who watch the show who haven't played the game the initiation to go then play that and experience that in that way, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, I love this whole scene of them playing, like they actually get to act like kids, the two of them.
Yeah. It makes me really sad. Because these kids don't get to be kids in this world. And that's so fucking sad.
Yeah. I mean, it's just such a good, like the thing of going back to like what a great adaptation. Like that picture of Danny and Ish drawn in crayon is straight up from the game. Like all of the stuff that's from the game is literally verbatim exactly what the game looks like. You see the fucking comic book, the Savage Starlight comic book at one point in this episode. And it's the exact fucking same thing. And it's just so, the attention to detail in this was so awesome to see. So it was just eye candy. This whole ish sewer section was awesome. And then, that's what, again, was a big difference of the game is where you learn that Sam had leukemia.
They just giving this kid a fucking hard run for his money. Jesus Christ.
For real, dude.
Man was fighting the entire world to die, basically. And there was no saving this child no matter what.
Yeah.
She wasn't wrong in the end.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
It was all for nothing.
Ever heard about fate?
She knows all about it. She got her ass beat by a little child.
Oh, we'll get to that. That was amazing.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. That's why Henry betrayed Michael was because Fedra was gonna then give him the medicine to help Sam, which I'm assuming it did. It seemed like they were talking past tense, so that Sam no longer had leukemia at
or at
that
least in
point. I
some
think
sort
he
of
was,
remission or
or
something like
some
that.
remission. Yeah.
Which is that's such a tough like to think about that. Like I don't know if they put enough weight on that. Maybe that would have been another great part of like maybe having a flashback or something, or maybe that's just too cliche. But it's like just the gravity of that situation of being like, how do I save my little brother? And then being presented with this opportunity and being like, I have to do something really bad in order to do that. That's
Right.
I don't know what I would do in that situation. That's super hard to think about.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's why Henry considers that is the one person he's killed. He didn't directly kill Michael, but he ratted him out, and Fedra beat him to death. So,
Michael's dead, and I'm not.
right,
Oops.
right. Yeah. So that was a really great scene because you see Joel start to like mellow out and be like, "Oh, I understand why you did what you did," type of thing. And that's obviously Brian brought it up where you get the whole line of "I am the bad guy because I did a bad guy thing," right? Like that's the question of the hour.
Yeah,
So.
it's one of those things when what do you do when your back's against the wall?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just sell people out to Fedra. They get their ass beat.
Yeah, which, oof. I mean, Fedra was bad, but everyone's bad.
Well, it's like in turn, you got an army on your back. So I don't know if you really made the right decision there, fellow friend.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it seems like all they really did was murder him, because then his movement overthrew them. So,
right.
After all that, they still lost. Like,
yeah.
Well, a lot of times killing the leaders like makes it, really makes the movement pop off. So, like, however bad it is with the leader, it's even worse if you, like, just like if you kill him and then it proves every point he was making.
Yeah. Then we get to the suburbs. They make it out of the sewers, get to the suburbs, sniper fight. This is exactly from the game, except it's in the daylight or in the game as opposed to night, which I was like, oh shit, they're actually doing this. This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And you get that moment where Joel asks Ellie, "Do you trust me?" And she's like, "Yeah, okay. Go hobble your ass around."
Yeah, it's kind of funny seeing him do superhero stuff in this context because it's not nearly a superhero in the TV show as it is in the game.
Right.
In the game, I'm a fucking monstrosity. Like everyone should fear me when I walk past. But then fucking Joel is so goddamn old in this and just crunchy as fuck.
Yeah.
And then even he still has some humanity, as we can see, because he's just kind of like, bro, you're 87.
That was tough.
Kick your gun.
Shit.
Wait an hour.
But I think that's why
we're chilling.
But this was kind of his moment of like, gotta go out and hunt and just don't come back, right? He was like, "Yep, this is my moment."
That's what? I think that old man was racist.
You're like, listen here, brother.
He sees two black kids hanging out with a Latino man and some white girl. Like, I mean, he was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna die."
This used to be my church, damn it. We had an HOA.
That is one thing that is different in the game. And in the game, obviously, it's just some dude you kill. He's nothing, means nothing. But I like that they added, even to this one tiny moment, they added some context to the point where Joel's just like, "Please don't, please don't do it. I don't want to have to do this."
All right. And he said, "The South to rise again," and then got shot in his
head. And yeah, you find out that he obviously already radioed Kathleen in. The fucking cavalry arrives in the worst way. Like, holy shit! Again, we're talking about like what a ridiculous looking scene for one dude.
Yeah, they pulled out all the vehicles. All that was missing was the guy from Mad Max, like the guitar guy.
Right.
Cars, like.
For real.
Yeah. And that was just one of those things I just felt like I had like a suspension of disbelief that I just couldn't get past when it came to some of that stuff. We're just like, all of this? I understand if it was you, period, maybe like 5 other guys max, maybe 1 car. But to bring fucking everybody in the goddamn squad.
I mean, I guess it makes sense why Perry's like giving her these looks like, are we for real now?
Listen, Perry, you got to make some kind of executive decision at some point, bro. Because what are you following into? And look what happens to you. Come on.
And look what happens to you. Oof. Yeah, like we said, Joel takes out that truck, explosion. I called it. Infected are coming. They're fucking coming. I know. I was like, this is it. It's popping off. It's popping off. I did not think it was going to pop off that fast, though.
I loved it because it was so funny that he's like, oh, yeah, there's not really, there's not many down there anymore. They cleared most of them out. Huh? That's the entire town right there.
Like, it makes it so much scarier than in the game. Because in the game, you fight like 5 clickers at once. It's like, I can kind of manage run around. But these fuckers are fucking rabid, dude.
Yeah.
That just how fast they sprung out the ground. Like, oh, it was like nuts. I was not expecting that.
They hungry.
I thought this whole sequence was incredible. I was like, all right, if you're blowing your budget for a big sequence in this episode, I thought this was absolutely astounding and tense because just the amounts. And I thought, for the most part, visually looked incredible.
Yeah, see, they used some CG and then used some like practical effect, and I thought that was a good idea. I love that they use the practical effect with a lot of the clickers and stuff. What makes a bloater? Do they talk about that in the game? I can't remember. Or is it just a fat guy that becomes a zombie?
The only explanation they make is that it's just an infected who's been infected for a very long time.
Why so big?
I guess that's why, like, they also explain that, like, they're basically armor plated at that point. And I'm assuming it's just because there's layers upon layers of fungi.
So either you just end up stuck to a wall or you become the biggest motherfucker on the goddamn earth. One of the two choices.
Basically.
Shaq just became a clicker, I guess.
For real. I was like, he's doing wrestling moves, bro.
he went full auto for 2 to 3 clips, just straight to that thing's face, and it did nothing. He's like, turn around and run. I'm like, wouldn't you run? Shouldn't you run too? What are you gonna do? Empty another clip? Like waste another?
There'd be no talking. There'd be no telling people what to do. I know what the fuck to do. I'm getting the fuck out of there. If you don't know what to do at this point, I don't know what to tell you. Like what's going on here?
Yeah, poor Perry. Doesn't last very long. He's like, run, turns around, and immediately gets his head ripped.
Jesus.
Pulled a fatality on this man. Flawless victory.
That was incredible. That was incredible, dude. It's also fun to think about that he also voiced Tommy in the game. I just think that's a fun little thing to also think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that bloater looks incredible. Just knocking people over and just rampaging through people.
Yeah, I love that. So, of course, in the video game, it's a PlayStation 3 game. You only got 3 character models, let's be real. So you don't even think about the fact that like anyone can become a clicker. Anyone can get infected for long periods of time. So having a little girl almost felt like a witch from like Left 4 Dead. Remember the witch, the little girl like singing or whatever?
That was so scary.
It felt a lot like that, where it's like, yeah, they could be scary too. Like, what the fuck?
I don't like how she doing like acrobatics in that car.
Ballerina.
She was having so much fun.
She was late to gymnastics practice on the day of the infection.
Yeah, that bell roll was crazy.
Damn.
Yeah, that was terrible.
That was a very cool thing we hadn't really seen. I wouldn't even imagine in this universe, in any of the games or anything, we've never seen a kid clicker before.
Right.
# kid clicker.
Oh, that sounds a little bit weird now. The more you say it, the worse. We're a bunch of kid clickers. Huh?
Yeah, that was horrific. Obviously, Ellie eventually sees Sam and Henry stuck under a truck being attacked by clickers. Ellie gets her first clicker kill. Props to her on that. Joel's still taking people out sniper style.
Joel had perfect aim from that whole sequence.
Yeah, that was some Walking Dead shit too, where suddenly you're just the best shot in the world. Suddenly you're just a military, Marine or some shit.
I mean, that's because I picked up the controller.
And I clicked on accessibility options and it gives me auto headshots. So, shout out to the accessibility options in The Last of Us. Yeah, so there's that. And then the Ellie thing, I know that maybe they don't want to mess with the prosthetics or whatever because they probably fall off fairly easily. But you got to hit him in the head. Why is she hitting him in the shoulders?
Yeah,
I would imagine it's because she kind of does something similar. That's like a video game animation almost. She did. She always ends up climbing on their back and kind of stabbing them.
She just stabbed him once in the shoulder neck.
Sometimes, yeah. To be honest,
because Joel was hitting him in the head. Joel was always in the side of the head.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit weird too. But I was like, oh yeah, maybe that's why.
And then they died, and I was like, that wouldn't kill most people. Like, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that any of them walked out of there when there was just so much chaos, like they're right in the middle of it. Like,
yeah,
that plot armor goes crazy in this shit.
Yeah,
people with fully automatic weapons can't survive, but Ellie can survive with a little knife.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say though, they did a good job of keeping it tense though. I liked how every shot was kind of tight, and it's just like, oh fuck, like just chaos, pure chaos.
Joel couldn't miss no shots. If he did, they were dead.
Yeah.
It's also, I had a joke. Let me see if I can land it. That shot of the mob of infected running towards the heart of Kansas City to probably ransack it and destroy it could also happen to Kansas City if if the Eagles beat them in the Super Bowl on Sunday. Hey,
that delivery was hot garbage. That delivery was
such a stretch, dude.
I paid good money for this show. What am I getting? Come on.
I thought he was going to turn into like a Black Friday joke. People were running to a mall. I was like, where is he going?
The setup took too long.
He said something, Super Bowl, something. Yeah.
I'm really glad that we took a moment for that, though. And then obviously, we get the death of Kathleen. I love that she gets killed by the kid clicker, though.
Hashtag kid clicker.
That girl just did a backflip upwards, front flip, some gymnastics moves. Landed her little move, did a little thing, and then ate.
I'm about to say, face. Just eat Kathleen butthole first.
Yeah. rough. Even when her whole army is getting destroyed and this is going to be a huge problem, she's still, man. But she's just out for revenge. Didn't care at all.
I honestly, for a split second, I thought maybe she's going to shoot Henry. Like, even earlier in that scene where he gives himself up, I was like, maybe they're going to change this. Maybe she's going to, I don't know, but I'm glad they didn't. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace, Kathleen.
We won't miss you.
And the entire surviving population of Kansas City.
And the entire, Kansas City is now just a big infected wasteland.
Population 0.
Dead.
Yeah, damn. Literally 4 people ruined Kansas City.
I just how would they have do you get grenades in The Last of Us? Because grenades could have maybe solved that problem. Like an emergence hole in Gears of War.
No, you can make bombs though.
Was that you make Molotov cocktails and some bombs out of
that's what you need.
Weird ass nails and shit.
you need explosives.
I don't think anything's working on that though. That was that was 100 clickers infected. That was
Listen, man, I made 3 Molotov cocktails and I at least got 2 more rags in my inventory. I think I could do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going back to that lady, the first lady from episode 2. Just bomb. That's all we got to do. There ain't nobody left in Kansas City.
Yeah. Then obviously we get to they survive, they make it out, get to a hotel room. This shit was very different in the game in the sense that Sam shows Ellie he's bit.
And I liked it until I didn't. And we'll talk about it.
Oh, okay. But I like the conversation of that's very directly from the game. The whole are you ever scared? And Ellie's of course she's afraid of being alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sam brings up the whole thing of if you turn into a monster, is it still you inside?
Ugh.
Obviously for the reasons because he's bit. He got bit in the exact moment.
Which I do always wonder. Do you think if you become zombified, especially in this version of zombified where you're still a living being, there's no brain death or anything, would you?
We're gonna get real deep.
Yeah. Do you think you would still have because it's almost I wonder, maybe this is too deep. I wonder if it's kind of like a Jesus take the wheel kind of situation where you're just in the back seat and someone else is controlling. You can still see it and notice it, or if you're just completely as far as you're concerned, you're dead. You're gone.
It's like when the Hulk was when took over Mark Ruffalo in Thor Ragnarok for 2 years, and he's like, it was like I was in the backseat or in the trunk of the car, and the Hulk was driving the car.
Exactly. So maybe it was like that, where you can almost see a window into it, but you just can't do anything about it, or if it's just something where it's no, you're just dead. I
hope it's dead. Fuck that. That sounds awful.
Because I know Walking Dead, there's a kind of brain death kind of thing where your brain dies and becomes just pure instinct. Right. So I assume you, as you know yourself as a person, is probably dead. But in this, I know in the video games, you can strangle the zombies, which means they're still living beings. Are you still in there? I don't know.
Hope not. I really hope not.
That sounds terrifying. I'd much rather be dead.
Also, because most of the time, all you do is stand. Mostly infected, if they're left alone, they just stand in the corner and don't move. That sounds boring as hell. That sounds real boring.
I'm gonna go with dead. I think you're dead when you get infected.
I'm gonna hope for dead.
For my my mental health sake, I'm gonna go for dead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this is the moment where I'm assuming Brian did not like, where Ellie tries to cure Sam with her blood.
That was just so weird and goofy. I don't know, man. The conversation's so powerful to be that's they did that thing that's kind of preachy, where they do the thing where they're kind of talking to the audience and not to each other, where it's what do you think happens when we die? Okay, it's powerful. It felt powerful in that moment. And then go from that, it was I can help. My blood's magic.
But see, I thought,
what the fuck was that?
I liked that. Well, I didn't. I didn't like it or dislike it, but I think it made sense because with child logic, you'd be like, oh, well, my blood has the cure, so I'll just rub some blood on it.
And it's like,
makes sense.
Yes or no, but I guess I would have probably personally directed the scene. If I was the director, I would have. I guess I would have gone for a little bit more like a frantic kind of situation, and not so much of like she didn't really feel like she was taking it seriously, and she's 14. She's not 8 like he is. If she was 8 like he is, she'd probably be like that. Like, well, I can save you, and then when it doesn't work, you're like, oh shit, fuck. But instead, I would have been like, oh shit, like he's bitten. Like, fuck, I know what happens when you're bitten.
We need to immediately tell the adults.
Let me try something. Like, yeah, even if you want to hide it because you're scared of him dying or something like that, whatever. But I just feel like there would have been a little bit more of a fear response to knowing what's going to happen to him.
Yeah.
I definitely understand that. I have a response, but I can't tell you until Devin's gone.
Fair.
Okay. Yeah, she was pretty casual about it. It's like, oh, what do we do now? I'll just sit here and fall asleep in this chair. Where somebody that's next to me is definitely going to turn.
That moment broke me. Like, there were a lot of moments that broke me. One of them was like Sam and Henry drawing, and then like so many moments that I was like, oh my god, this is emotional. Like Sam earlier in the episode reacting to Henry hearing the gunshots from Joel and Ellie first approaching the city. That look that Sam gives Henry, it killed me. It was just like the most childlike fear from a child, because especially he couldn't hear what was going on. He can only react off of what Henry's responding to.
Mm-hmm.
And when Henry's afraid, so is Sam. Like, oh, that should kill me. But this moment got me when he asked her, stay awake with me. And she says, I promise. But so, and like, it was just, man, it got me. It really got me. And I thought that the two of them were built upon that whole bonding throughout this episode really worked for me, in the sense that I got an idea. I got a feeling like there's a part of Ellie that knows this is not going to work, but she's so hopeful that she's like, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really had a chance to try this, so maybe, maybe, just maybe I can save this kid.
There's that symbolism of hope that she's probably never had before in her life. And I mean, also, this is one of the last time she's met a child in God knows how long. How many children are in this world?
Right.
You don't tend to survive when you're not useful. You know what I mean? Because you're a liability, and that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously, in the morning, Sam has sadly turned. Ellie didn't work. And I would imagine that does not bode well for her being a cure in her brain. And this is straight up from the game. Sam turns, he attacks Ellie. The other two, they run into the room. Henry and Joel see it. Joel's going straight for the gun. He's going off instinct. And Henry beats him to it, which is slightly different in the game, but basic premise. Henry's got Joel at gunpoint. He's in a box. He does not know what to do. And eventually he pulls the trigger and shoots Sam.
And that also kind of felt like instinct, because I even think that once he did it, he was like, oh, wait, what? What did I do?
Yeah.
God, that scene still hits. I was worried. I was worried when I first started the episode. I was like, I don't feel like this is going to hit the same way. There's no way. There's something about this just doesn't feel the same to me. Yeah. And I was still over here clutching my pearls when that scene happened, because Jesus fuck.
And just, it was rough. And like, even before Henry goes, he has the line, what did I do? And at first it's like, the obvious is, I shot my brother. But the way I read it afterward, like as I thought about it, was, it's almost like he forgot to say the word wrong at the end of that sentence. Instead, he should have said, what did I do wrong? And like, I've done everything I could to keep this kid alive. What did I do wrong?
Right. It feels all like, for nothing. I mean,
what happened? Exactly. And it's just like, it's crushing.
He became the enemy of his whole city just for his brother to die a day later.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at that domino, like that stack of dominoes falling, he's directly responsible for all the people dying in Kansas City, basically.
Fuck.
In a really depressing way, yes.
Fuck.
I mean,
yeah.
Kathleen's looking. Her logic is not wrong.
Well, I would also say Joel and Ellie are partially a part of that. Had they not shown up, I don't think Henry would have escaped the city.
They're the motherfuckers that go into the past from the future and then, like, move one butterfly or something and then ruin everything.
Yeah.
Every single place they seem to go into just seems to get fucking demolished because of the
right. But yeah, that crushed me. And then Henry takes his own life. Which me and Brian talked about the last week. I told you that we're going to cut to black. And
I
end
know.
It, right?
I wanted to. I wanted to sit on that.
Because in the game, Devin, it literally ends this chapter of the game ends with you see a little more of Henry pulling the trigger on himself for a split second. You see him pull it, and then it cuts to Joel and Ellie's very quick 2-second reaction, and then cuts to black, and that's the end of that chapter. You don't see nothing else. But I liked what they did with this.
Yeah.
I like that they did give us a moment to sit with it. But it was rough to see, man. That was whew.
Yeah, I think Neil Druckmann himself is definitely trying to take a different approach to the series as a whole, from kind of what we've seen so far, and making it. I mean, it's still super sad and it's still super dark, but he's still trying to give all the characters like the needed empathy that they deserve, I guess, to be like full fleshed out characters, like the burial and stuff like that. I mean, like these are people that we cared about and that we loved and stuff like that. Whereas in the game, it was just like this fucked up thing happened. Anyway, you got to just move on. So I think that's really interesting that he's putting a little bit more care into how we see these characters instead of just us meeting these characters and bad things happening to them and then us just moving on.
Right. Yeah. Well, to be fair, I will say though, in the game, like in the chapter right after this, I believe, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there is a conversation as like you're just walking where Ellie talks about that they did bury Henry and Sam. So yeah, but so it was kind of cool, and obviously Ellie leaves the little pad that Sam communicated with everyone with, saying I'm sorry, and and it looks like Ellie's a little hardened after this whole experience, and Joel's got to look like fuck. This is the exact thing I'm worried about with this fucking kid in me. is this fate I'm looking at right now?
Right. Don't get too attached. Don't say too many words. I think Joel's the smartest character so far. Just don't, say too many. You can like work with other people, but just try to keep it to like one word answers.
Why use many words? A few words do trick.
Exactly. Right. Protect your heart from more emotional damage.
That doesn't sound like what your therapist would tell you.
Right.
The Joel route. The Joel method.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it. Credits. I didn't know this song by Agnes Obel, Fuel to Fire, but it was
a pretty song. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty song.
They're HBO and in general is always good with all of their music and stuff.
Yeah.
They do be licensing though.
They always have some good music picked out for, when you're wondering like, wow, I am just so incredibly sad right now and I need some eye bleach.
Right. I mean, yeah, Devin, were you shocked by this ending or in general?
I shouldn't have been. Really should not have been at this point. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on me again, I guess. And fool me 3 times, and I guess I'm just watching the whole season now. Just can't wait for more.
I know for me personally, playing the game or watching, I think Oscar played the game in 2013 was the thing that stuck with me most was this, because it just felt. It didn't feel senseless, but almost just felt so senseless. Like you finally met good people that are doing good shit, and then this, what the fuck? What the fuck is happening here? Right. So that was like the thing that I think that really got me the most interested in this like world as a whole, was because that was at the time probably one of the darkest things I'd seen other than Game of Thrones, of being like, y'all did all this and made me love these characters so much, and then you just Donald Glover just shoots himself, like, because the character looks a lot more like Donald Glover in the game.
So HBO got it. They're just love this. Love just tearing your soul right out of your chest.
And they did it.
And they sure fucking did, man. Like R.I.P. Henry and Sam. But man, did at least for me, they knocked it out of the park with the two of them.
They did. Both of them did phenomenally. And I was very impressed. I wasn't expecting it to be as good of a performance as it was.
Yeah.
Especially like they're doing such a good job with just giving you such like this. We got one episode with them, and it worked. It's like Bill and Frank all over again. It's like they're doing such a fucking good job with the writing of this show.
And that was my biggest fear, and I guess I shouldn't be fearful of it anymore because they keep doing it right. That I was like, I just don't think they're going to flesh them out enough.
Again. Yeah.
Albeit I think Kathleen and Perry are kind of useless. But as far as Henry and Sam, I did feel the connection that I did feel in the video game, and I wasn't expecting that. So
yeah, if anything, I'm not gonna. I might have felt more in this, to be honest.
Yeah, they gave you a lot more reasons to. Fucking Sam's life is a tragedy as a whole.
Oh, it is weird. Even with the game that looks as good as The Last of Us, it is weird seeing a real human being go. This happened to a real human being.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. quick video game comparisons that are not super different, so Devin doesn't have to leave yet. Most of that, like I was saying, the sewer stuff all is kind of separate, but they did their own kind of way. That sniper fight exactly still happens the way it is. Sam doesn't get infected when they get attacked there. All that is pretty much the same, obviously, without the whole Kathleen Perry stuff. They're just
some guys.
obviously new characters, and then obviously the biggest difference is that Sam talks in the game. So you get a little more vocalization, but they did just as good a job communicating he's a kid and him and Ellie have fun.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it for that. Everything else would be outside of Devin's wheelhouse, so we don't want to ruin the show for him. Not, Devin, you'll be sad.
Just know you'll be sad.
Well, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing Republican Utopia next week. Just
Republican
Utopia. They roll up and George W. Bush is just on a horse, and he's like, "Well, hey y'all, welcome to Wyoming. Thought you'd never make it."
Yeah, I'm excited. Which sadly we have to wait 10 days now for
because it came out so early. Yeah.
Oh,
so we'll see you. We'll see you in the podcast, but we'll see you for The Last of Us in a couple more than a week, Devin.
There you go, man. It's gonna be a long wait.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later then.
All right. See y'all. Love you guys.
Love you, man.
Love you, man.
See ya.
All right, Brian. This is a section. You know what it is.
Tell me what it is.
Shh. There's a clicker over yonder. Future spoilers. This is obviously the future spoilers section, listeners, where me and Brian are continuing this little chat without Devin so we don't ruin the show for him. But we'll also do some video game comparison stuff still in this section. That is stuff that's a little more different, and we don't want to ruin that game experience. So if you haven't played the game or want to know the future, you should bounce out now.
Get the fuck out. Yeah. Leave.
Yeah.
Go.
Get out of here. Run like Perry tried to. Actually, he didn't run. He didn't try to run at all.
I'm gonna rip your head off.
Obviously, yeah, the biggest difference is stuff like that I don't even think I ended up missing that much because this episode was so good, is that they escape from the city in a different way, in the sense that they jump off a bridge.
Right.
Joel and Ellie jump off a goddamn bridge. And obviously they're drowning because they get abandoned by Henry and Sam, because Henry's like, I gotta save my brother. Sorry, you guys are stuck down there. We gotta leave. But they save them. They save them from drowning in the river. Joel eventually is pissed at first, obviously, for obvious reasons. Then he's okay with it. And that's where you get the whole sewer stuff, which is you fight a bunch of infected. They get split up. Joel and Sam have their own little mini adventure where Henry and Ellie are at one end and you have to traverse the sewer system, which is, when I first played this game, was one of the worst parts of this game. Yes. I fucking hate
I hate there's two parts specifically in this game that I hate, and that's one of the parts, is the sewer part.
Yep. It's awful.
Sewer, and then funnily enough, the bloater part. I hate that part as well. Where you got to turn on the generator and everything. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Both of which have already passed at this point in the game, but it's like, oh, God.
It's smooth sailing from that point. The game's pretty easy after that. But
yeah. But yeah, obviously all that happens, and then you get to the sniper fight in the suburbs. But I think they did a pretty good job of kind of combining the two of them in this manner. That's kind of those last comparisons, I believe. Obviously, the Ish stuff we already talked about.
I want to talk about future spoilers and a little bit how it felt like there was some illusion with Kathleen's character and some of the things that she was talking about.
Okay.
And kind of, I guess, how that was going to wrap up with this show as well. Of course, we know about what happens with Ellie. We know what happens with Joel. We know this is a story about love and the things that you do for love. I thought it was very interesting, some of the things that Kathleen was saying about how much she was doing all this stuff for someone that she cared about, and then how she was talking to Henry and how it's just like some people just have to die and you have to accept that and you can't do anything about it. I thought that was a really interesting juxtaposition to kind of what we know Joel's decision is going to end up being towards the end of the game, where she was talking about that, where it's like, yeah, some things just have to happen and you have to accept it and you can't fix that problem. And it's so funny because Joel does the exact same thing, where there's something that he just can't really stop, but he's going to try to stop it anyway, no matter how much damage it causes.
I mean, it's that, and combined with, like you brought up, the Henry line of, I'm the bad guy because I did bad guy things, like he's trying, and obviously that's, depending on you look at it, Joel's the bad guy at the end of this episode, or is he just a man who found a surrogate daughter and is doing what he does?
Yeah, it's that funny, the kind of like Breaking Bad-esque of like creep into doing more and more harsh things to protect the ones that you love.
Yeah. I could definitely see people that know the story like us complaining that they're laying it on a little thick. But I think, like, even from Devin's perspective, I think they're doing that because of the ending, obviously. And
Right.
I think overall I'm okay with it. Obviously, like, I don't need that, but that's because we know.
Yeah.
But
I'll see
so
how I feel
it's
towards the
yeah.
end. But yeah,
Right.
I really it's a hard game to play of how can you balance it where it's like a little bit too cerebral and then you're giving
Mhm.
your audience just enough and respecting their intelligence to like have it on just like at just the perfect amount where it doesn't feel like it's just being force fed down your throat. They've definitely
Right.
chosen the easier route, I think, as a whole, just based on the way that they've shown us things about how the infection works and stuff like that. They're trying to make sure we get it, which is fine. But
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there could have been a way that they could have definitely been a little bit leaner on the
Right.
fat
Yeah.
there.
I will it'll be fun to see what people who don't know the story feel about the ending.
Right. I wonder how many people will be able to call it. You know what I mean? I guess.
Right. Or even like yeah, like address the seeds that they've been planting this whole time as the reasoning, like
Hmm.
or if people like I didn't need yeah, it'll be a fun conversation to have and to hear. I had one future spoiler thing in the sense that god damn, Ellie had to do that twice in the sense that of waiting for someone to turn.
Oh yeah.
We're in future spoilers. Her and Riley just wait because they both get bit and just they decide that they're just gonna wait it out and turn infected together. And obviously, Ellie never turns, and I'm assuming she kills Riley. And I was just like, that was why I told you earlier. I had to wait till Devin was gone to give my response in the sense that I think that's why Ellie is as calm as she is in that moment
Because she had to
because
do it
she's done
before.
that
Yeah.
before. Yeah,
Yeah. That's rough.
that killed me. I was like, she has to do this again. Are you joking?
And I get it too, like
This
the
is
staying strong for a
awful.
smaller child as well is one of those things. I don't.
Right.
There's a lot of things I
What if
don't.
she was just like, nah, fuck it, I'm going to bed.
I know what the fuck's gonna happen to you, bro. Anyway, I'm gonna get some shut eye.
Right.
See you tomorrow, idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But yeah, so that's why that worked for me as well as it did. But oh, that's rough.
See, that's funny
Rough.
that you say that, like based on that, because I mean we're gonna see that episode soon. I don't know if you've seen that they've
Mhm.
come out with the episode list.
I did see some titles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we kind of know how one's gonna shape up.
Now, yeah, we sort of know the layout
I wonder
now.
if that'll be very smart for them to do that after this scene that we've seen that so people can make the same connection you did. Maybe they purposely did
Right.
that, and maybe that. I mean, I feel like that's putting a lot of weight on the intelligence of your community to do it something like that. If you're trying to make that point, I
Right.
don't know.
I mean, yeah, I think because they've like we've talked about in other episodes, they've kind of sowed those seeds of like when Tess asked her, "You were in the mall by yourself?" Obviously, she wasn't. She was with Riley. Ellie lies. Mentionings of Riley, like they're sowing those seeds, and I think if they pull it off well, I think it'll work out.
Yeah, I'm interested in that one because yeah, they really haven't like they've talked to Riley enough that we would know. But I feel like if I'd never heard about this character or seen this character on screen, I'd be like, "Who the fuck?" Like when she finally shows up,
Right.
I'd be like,
Right.
who the fuck is this?"
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited though, man. Like, yeah, after seeing those titles, you kind of have a roadmap, and it's like we keep wondering, is like how they gonna do it.
Yeah,
It's a lot to fit, but I mean, they've been doing a good job so
yeah,
far. Trust them at this point.
right.
They're no nonsense, no filler bullshit type of way. They're gonna get to it.
Oh boy, howdy.
That's all for me, pretty much in this phenomenal episode. You got anything else, man?
That's all I got. Rest in peace, Henry and Sam, and Kathleen and Perry and
Kathleen and whew,
30,000 other
all
people.
of Kansas
All of
City,
Kansas City. Ish. Rest
everyone.
in peace, Ish.
Ish. Oh, damn, that would have been so good. But everyone play the game. If you're listening to this for some reason you haven't played the game, play that game because those collectibles are amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, listeners, we're out of here. You can email us at thefortressof@gmail.com, fortress but FOUR. You could feel free to email us any questions, feedback, recommendations, or anything about that. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram and the YouTube channel at The Fortress of. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandma, tell your cat. Review us, rate us 5 stars, preferably. Thank you, Jackie, for helping edit the podcast every week. Thank you, Brian, for the art, Alex, for the music. Devin, thank you for being here even when you're not here. You can find Brian on Instagram at ITZ_ by the way, Alex at Peterson Films, and Devin, you can find him sobbing in a puddle of his own tears after every episode of The Last of Us. Yeah, listeners, we'll see you next week in episode 6 of The Last of Us. Brian, I got another sign off for us. This one's pretty easy because it's also the title of the episode. So I'll just say endure
and survive.
All right, bye, listeners. Bye-bye, dude.
Bye-bye, dudes.